Welcome to this interview this morning with a dear friend of mine, Mark Shulman. Not many of you may know exactly who he is, so have a look at this before we have a chat to Mark.
Mark Shulman on the drum.
Mark Shulman has had a front row seat performing with legendary acts including Billy Idol, Foreigner, Velvet Revolver, Stevie Nicks, Cher, and Pink. And he is here to be your personal rock star. Get ready to rock. Please welcome Mark Shulman.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Welcome.
My dear friend,
Yeah,
my dear friend, Mr. Whitnall.
great to see you, mate.
I've been on this man's boat about 4 or 5 times. Remember, everybody, I'm like an honorary Aussie because I've spent probably nearly 2 years in Australia touring with Pink because we did 18 sold out arena shows in Melbourne, Australia.
And I've been fortunate enough to spend a fair bit of time with Mark. And the interesting thing is that Mark really has 2 careers and they interlock. So one is, as was shown in that video, he's been a world-class drummer for some of those phenomenal acts and still does that today. Also, he's a world-renowned keynote speaker, specifically in America, but a lot around the world. And I thought this morning or today, what we do, Mark, is just hear about what you've done to take your phenomenal speaking engagements, the interactivity, the enthusiasm, some of those great topics like hacking the rock star attitude, and what's been the shift for you to get the same messaging and get the same vibe now that you've gone into a virtual world. So it'd be just great to hear a little bit about the speaking that you do, but also what have been the shifts and changes you've seen over the last 12 to 18 months.
Well, I'll be super candid with you. Last year I was going to do 100 speaking gigs lined up. In the months of March and April alone, I had 19 speaking gigs gone. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I knew the virtual world was upon us. I had never done I'm a live guy. I'm a rock and roll guy, only used to the stage. When I speak, I incorporate drumming. I incorporate interactive rhythmic stuff. So I thought, I was telling myself this story. I was paralyzed. I thought I could never convert what I do live to virtual. And then I realized one day, it's all about how we manage change. We either embrace it or we resist it. And after a couple of days of literally fear and anxiety and resistance, which is not like me, I woke up one morning and I said, what the hell kind of pathetic story am I telling myself? And I literally reframed it from resisting to embracing. And it's funny when you reframe something and you commit, you make a decision. When you make a decision, you're literally cutting off all other possibilities. I decided to embrace it. And all of a sudden I got creative. I became solutions oriented rather than barrier fixated. I became goal oriented. I started thinking of all these things I could do. Then I got really, really excited. Then I built up my virtual business. Now I've done dozens and dozens of virtual presentations for some very happy clients. But it's important that everybody remember that, you've probably heard the phrase, what you resist persists, but what you resist, it's actually grows into a big monster. So if you can just remember when you're resisting anything that's going on to embrace it, it's amazing how your mind sort of literally shifts and reframes into a creative, more solutions-oriented type of mind frame.
Excellent. And so you're getting now that interactivity through the virtual environment and getting lots more speaking gigs again. So is it coming back for you through that environment?
Yeah. I got creative because, first of all, like what you see now is sort of a miniature version of what I do. I always have a green screen background. I use either Ecamm or OBS as a platform so I can switch scenes. And because I can't actually do the interactive clapping in real time, I actually set it up so there's 6 versions of me and it looks like I'm in gallery mode and people are still clapping with me, but I'm listening to a click track and it's pre-recorded. So I had to figure out and spend a few months with a tech. I've never allowed anybody in my studio because of COVID. So I've done everything myself, and I switch things with a foot switch so I can switch between scenes. So it's amazing how creative, and it's all based on what I talk about, which is the fact that you cannot always control what happens to you. I don't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
But you always have the power to control, change, or shift your attitude about what is happening to you. And your attitude is what drives your behavior. I mean, think about the power of that for a minute.
Yeah.
And your behavior is what determines the consequences of your life. I'm going to find this little bit here. Where's this? I have it here, but I can't seem to find it. So it's A times B equals C. Attitude times behavior equals consequence. Check this out, just so you can visually get it.
Yeah.
Your attitude really creates your behavior. Behavior determines the consequences of your life. So if you understand and embrace that viewpoint, then you'll understand that you have the power by making that decision and by shifting your attitude at that moment to an attitude that serves you. You are literally driving different behavior and you're changing the consequences of your life. And we've been on lockdown like you're on lockdown. Look, America is a mess. The truth is we may not be on lockdown, but I just had 5 speaking gigs in October, live gigs cancel, but I'm getting more virtual gigs as a result. So I realize that if I embrace the change and understand that there's only so much I can control, then I just control what I can control and hang on for the rest and look at opportunities.
So you're practicing. There's a great example of you practicing what you're preaching. So that piece around, that's the stuff you're talking to people. You've got to go on, okay, speaking gigs in the world for me are going to really close down because my main forum, my main medium is live.
Right.
You could have just let that collapse, but to be able to then say, hang on a minute, the content that I'm talking to people, let's apply it for myself, and that's what you've done. It's fantastic.
Well, because that is, I'm used to being successful. I'm used to whatever I do being very high end, and I deal with world-class people. So I figured I'm not going to drop the ball. That's not like me. It's not native to who I am. So what I love to do really quickly is just take everybody through a quick attitude shift, because I swear to God, I know you guys are challenged, you're on lockdown, you're pissed off, I get it. So I'm going to show you how you can literally do an immediate attitude shift. I do this every single day. And it starts with deciding on an attitude that you want. You can call it a point of view, a state of mind, whatever it might be. And it can be happiness, love, confidence, joy. I love joy. So let's start with joy. Joy is a great example.
Yeah.
So what I do is I think of a time when I was joyful, because especially when you're in lockdown, you need to remember the times when you were successful, because when you remind yourself of those times, it brings you to those periods. It brings you back to those periods, and it uplifts your mindset and your attitude. So I'm thinking of a time that I'm joyful. And then what you need to do is I combine all the best psychology and physiology that I know, that I've learned between Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins and everybody else I've studied. And what you want to do first is you want to give your mind, sort of remind your mind that something wild, something cool is about to happen. So you're going to count backwards from 5, right? And that's exactly how I start. So I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then I shut my eyes, I clench my fists, I tighten my core as hard as I can, and I think of a time when I was joyful, and I just hold it. And then I release. Then I was thinking of a time a few weeks ago when I was out with my daughter. We were doing a little daddy-daughter day, and because she's going back to school, and we actually went to the local amusement park and the Natural History Museum, and she was hugging me, she was kissing me, I was smelling her hair, I was, grabbing her very muscular body. She's got a 5th-degree brown belt, right? And what it does is it causes me to smile. So I want you all to try it right now, just for fun. I know it sounds crazy, but this is a way to create an immediate attitude shift. So think of a time when you were joyful. Really, take it seriously. And the more senses you can involve, like I was thinking about smelling her hair and feel, how tightening her body, what the strong girl she is. So think of a time you were joyful. Here we go. I'm going to count you backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shut your eyes, clench your fists, tighten your core as much as you can. Think of a time you were joyful. And then release it. I do this 4 times, because by the 4th time, guess what? I have a big old shifty grin on my face. And as science would tell us, when you smile, you're actually activating hundreds of muscles in your face that send a signal to your body to relax and send endorphins to your brain. And that one attitude shift can hold me for hours. It can hold me for the entire day. And if it doesn't, I do it again. It takes you 45 seconds and you can do anything you want. But I guarantee you when you do it, it will shift your state. It will shift your attitude, your mindset. And that's what we need when we're challenged and we're in lockdown, and we need to remember these times, because I promise this too shall pass.
Yes.
And so you need to be remembering those times so you can then be forecasting what you want for the future. And that's all. If that's all you take away from today, man, ladies and gentlemen, I then hopefully I will have enhanced your lives and given you at least something to remember about the power of attitude, and that you actually have the power through your attitude to change the outputs, the outcomes of your life.
Mate, hey, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. I'd encourage everybody to have a look at markshulman.com because I know there's lots of other content there, and give people the opportunity to see you in action. Also, I know you've got books out there, so that you've got a couple of books, so people should have a look at those things. Mate, thank you very much for your time, and we
My
can't
pleasure,
wait to see you
everybody.
back on the stage soon. Thanks very much. See you, mate.
Love you, Chris.
Bye.